Hey, welcome to Planetary Pennies, Astrology Overview and Look at the month ahead of October 2020. Before I start, some people have been telling me they're finding it difficult to find their particular sun sign, and they don't particularly want to read or listen to all the other sun signs, which I fully understand, unless of course you know your ascendant or your moon sign, and then you can also look at those for yourself. So my lovely tech guy Jerry has just given me a brief description so that I can explain to you how you find your particular sun sign. So if you look down here at the bottom of the video here, you should see a little arrow. I think at this point it's probably pointing upwards, but it has something written on it that says show more. Now what you have to do is you click on show more and a description box drops down, and then you will see like an index for all the signs. So you'll have, Leo, and it'll start with the overview for October plus Leo's astrology. So that way I'm hoping it'll be a lot easier for you to navigate around this channel. Okay, so with no further ado, and I really hope that helps to explain it, I will continue with October's overview. So we are now in Libra season. So, when the sun moves into Libra, it kind of focuses us much more on the relationship aspect of life. So that would be the relationship aspect of, for example, our one-to-one close friendships, our one-to-one intimate relationships with family, with more, our wider friend circle. I also think, because when I looked at the chart, and I'm going to go over that briefly in a minute, when I looked at the chart for October, there is actually a pretty strong emphasis, in spite of the sun being in Libra, there is an emphasis on relationships. And I think this is on a rather grander scale, because I think this is actually on an international scale. Relationships between countries, relationships within countries, between communities. My sense is, because we have Mars retrograde, and it will be for quite a while in Aries, and Mars is making this harsh, difficult aspect to the big boys, Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter in Capricorn, which is in the 7th house of this October chart that I've set up. And what that tells me is that I really feel governments and world leaders are going to really struggle with keeping people safe within the confines of lockdown, because I suspect there's going to be a real movement underneath, or underground if you like, of the masses, the populace, getting very frustrated with lockdown, getting very frustrated with the fact that they are being so damaged financially in their individual businesses. They are losing jobs, and so there is going to be, I think, a real surge towards this kind of unrest. And my sense is that as these planets, that is Pluto, Jupiter and Saturn, start to move forward again in Capricorn, because Pluto actually starts to move forward on it moves forward on the 4th of October. So we will then have these three big boys going direct in Capricorn. So that's Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter. Now remember, Jupiter expands, and Jupiter can expand negative stuff as well as positive stuff, because it's like Jupiter is kind of neutral. So what I want to say with this is that, Pluto is pushing us towards transforming the way we actually govern our planet. It's pushing countries to transform the way they administer their governmental duties. It's on such a broad scale. You see Saturn that is also direct now, because Saturn went direct at the end of September. You know, Saturn is about governments and order and law and restrictions and boundaries. And I really feel that there is going to be quite a tension throughout the month of October, because as we move towards the end of the year, when these planets, in a sense, meet up much more tightly, because Jupiter, and again, remember, it expands what it touches. That's great if you've got a winning lottery ticket. And maybe we'll get some of those this month, who knows? And let's hope I'll go and buy one. And it expands what's negative and what's dark as well. So, you know, we also have to remember that we're moving towards the US elections. And we've seen in other years how tense things get throughout the world as we observe what's happening on the United States stage in these kind of events that have to unfold. So what I'm saying on a more personal level is, be mindful of your close personal relationships. Be mindful of short tempers with each other. I notice, for example, on social media, one gets a lot of kind of attacking going on between people. You know, there's the pro-masks against the anti-masks. There's the pro-vaxxers against the anti-vaxxers. I mean, people, we've all got to try and live together in harmony. And at this point, does it matter on one level who's right and who's wrong? It's just that perhaps we have differences of opinion. And I think if we can respect each other's differences of opinion, as we all strive towards building a stronger future and somehow pulling together the dramatic change that this planet is kind of going through at the moment, if we go with that, because, you know, when you when a branch holds itself firm against the wind will snap it and break it. If it bends, then it can survive. And I think one of the underlying symbols for me about this month is that what we have to do is actually bend with that force of the wind. We've got to bend with the force of Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter moving towards their final kind of meeting in November, I think it is, when they finally all get together. The other thing I want to talk about before I move on to your individual signs is that we have a Mercury retrograde this month. Now, please don't fear Mercury retrograde. It can be a good thing, because it can give all of us, including the government, second chances to tweak things, to get things right this time. You know, as countries throughout the planet are beginning to see that they may have to enforce larger lockdowns again because of this kind of second wave that, I don't know whether the first wave ever went away, to be quite honest, but we have this kind of surge in virus cases. It feels like, hopefully, every single government throughout the world will use the vision of hindsight. I mean, we all know that 2020 is going to have that stigma on it forever of 2020 hindsight. And but you know, this Mercury retrograde is helping that. It's saying, look, we can see what we perhaps didn't get right last time. Let's try and actually get it right this time, because that way maybe we can save lives, we can save jobs, we can save businesses. So that's the positive of Mercury retrograde. The sort of the more downside of Mercury retrograde, and Mercury's going to be in Scorpio, and he goes then back into Libra, and he doesn't go direct till November the 3rd. So we've got, from the 14th of October, we've got this Mercury retrograde period. Yes, we can expect delays in travel, but I think we know why, and I think we're all more aware that if we are booking long distance travel or even short distance travel, it may be subject to change or cancellation. And I don't think we can just stop living our lives because of all these restrictions. I think we have to learn to adapt. And by adapting, I think respect everybody's own individual wishes within that. And respect each other, because this Libra emphasis on relationship, I do feel is super important for October. You know, this Mars square to Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter, you know, there's going to be a lot of kind of sparking off and fights and arguments, and it's just quite tricky. I just want to look at what Uranus is doing, because Uranus is retrograde, of course, in Taurus, and I do think because Taurus is all about money and investments, this retrograde Uranus is going to see a little bit more instability again in the financial world and the sort of the economic climate, which is not what any of us want to hear. But I think there's a lot of nervousness around because of, you know, the fact that we're coming into winter in the Northern Hemisphere, and we are going to go through quite a challenging time. Now, I have talked a lot about October in this overview, but I just feel it's important to get these points across. Your individual sun signs will probably not be quite as long, but they will hopefully have the more direct information that you require to navigate your way through October. So before you go on to that, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning into my channel, watching my videos, and subscribing to my channel. If you've not subscribed, I'd be super happy if you could. That would be fantastic. And the likes and shares are hugely, hugely appreciated. And also, if you would like to book a personal one-to-one session with me for astrology or life coaching, or you'll probably find it's a combination of both, in fact, then my website address is in the description box underneath the video. I think it's also just written here in the bottom of the video. So that's all I want to say for now. And so until next month, enjoy your October horoscopes. Thank you. Hey Aquarius, welcome to your astrology for October, for the Sun in Aquarius or for the Ascendant in Aquarius. And if you have the Moon in Aquarius, if you're aware of that, why don't you check that out too? Okay, so Aquarius, okay, you'll be really relieved to know that because there's been a lot of focus on your 12th house of Capricorn, and you've probably been put through the psychological ringer over the last couple of years, because with these heavyweights, Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn, all sitting there encouraging you and urging you towards inner development and, you know, seeking help from counselors, life coaches, whatever else, self-help books, then for some of you, if you've not gone with that, I think you will have found it a much tougher time. Now, the good news is, if you've been working with that energy, Pluto is about to go direct. In fact, he goes direct on the 4th of October. Now, why is this so good? It's because Pluto is the planet of transformation. And this means that if you have been doing this inner work on yourself, and even if you haven't, I'm sure you will be aware that there are just areas of your inner world that are changing, whether you like it or not. You'll be changing your ideas and the way you look at things. And Pluto going to direct is going to be transforming this. So you should be seeing, I think other people are going to be seeing quite a significant change in you, and perhaps experiencing you as slightly more approachable than you can be, because Aquarians can be quite quite remote sometimes. They like their space. So Pluto moving forward, I think, is going to be really helpful for you. And also this coincides with the fact that both Jupiter and Saturn in Capricorn in your 12th house are also now moving direct. Jupiter will come up to conjunct Pluto, that's a little bit later, and of course Jupiter expands. So the thing is, Aquarius, if you've been doing the work that these big boys have been asking of you on an inner level over the last couple of years, then Jupiter is just going to bring a huge consciousness shift for you and a huge amount of kind of like aha moments as you really get an understanding and a sense of where you're going. Now, if you've been dragged kicking and screaming to the therapist's door, then this is going to be a little bit tougher. And it may be that external events kind of put you in a situation where you will have to, in a sense, grow with this. You are going to have to become more aware, because these planets in Capricorn, they won't let us get away with it. We can see that in the world in general. If you think about what we've had to endure this year, 2020, with the virus, you know, these planets have really been pushing us to look at how we treat the planet, look at how we treat each other. And it's going to be worse for the people that are resisting this shift, this energetic shift of consciousness that the whole planet and our inhabitants are moving towards. Now, there's my philosophical bit. So let's move on to the full moon, because we do have a full moon on the 1st of October, and it's in Aries in your 3rd house. Now, the 3rd house for you is all about communication. It can be about papers and documents and writing things down. It could be examinations or contracts. And I think what's interesting is that it's conjunct Chiron in Aries, which is the wounded healer. So let's see what this means, because for me what it means is, if you've been doing some, maybe you've been attending a course, or you've been doing something online in terms of increasing your sort of education and your learning, then I think perhaps this is where you start to see some results from that, and that you actually learn about yourself, and you're able to, I think, write. If you've got to write and communicate, you're going to be able to do that in a much more empathic way, because, you know, Chiron is about kind of empathy as well. So there feels to be a more of an empathic shift in the way you communicate, Aquarius. And then if we look forward to the 14th of October, we have one of our infamous Mercury retrogrades, and it's going to be going retrograde in your 10th house, Scorpio, of work and career. Now, I've said to all the other signs that I'm recording today, please do not fear Mercury retrograde. Really, it can be an opportunity. It can be second chances. You may have gone after a job some while back and you didn't get it. You might find with this Mercury retrograde, you get offered it again. An opportunity that you thought you'd missed suddenly comes back. So, you know, it could be good. Yes, it can mean hold-ups. Yes, it can mean a slowing down of things and transport, because it is going to be moving into your 9th house, Libra, of travel. So, of course, this does mean that there may be some delays with travel. If you are planning to do any traveling, there could be, you know, quite significant delays with it. And that may be due to what is more or less known at the moment, that travel is sort of having a very heavy time in the world in general, or it may just be that just things get delayed. But if you get an opportunity to relook at something that has been really, you maybe have thought, oh, I wish I'd done that, then now's the time to do it. And I'm just going to have a quick sip while I continue. So, Aquarius, what I want to move on to is that then we have a new moon on the 16th, And this is in Libra in your 9th house, which I was just talking about. So I think there's going to be new opportunities for learning. Are you going to be signing up for a new course? Is this something you've had your eye on? Are you going to be having completed something, seeing that you could go on to the next level and maybe thinking, oh, I'll now do that, or that something you've learnt, you now can see how you can expand into something even further up the scale than you thought you could have achieved in the first place. So a nice new moon for you there. Now also we have 2 full moons this month, and the second one, a blue moon on Halloween on the 31st, is in Taurus in your 4th house of home. Now this one is conjunct Uranus, so what surprises are going to happen at home on Halloween or soon after? Hopefully they're nice surprises, but there could be family members turning up unexpectedly, but certainly it's a time of, it's also of course about, because Uranus is about the internet and video links. You may suddenly hear from somebody unexpectedly on Halloween, and or just be careful of who trick or treats, because maybe someone will knock at your door and you'll think, good God, I didn't know you lived here, and they'll say, well, I didn't know you, well, goodness me. So there could be all sorts of interesting things that unfold for you with this second blue moon, full moon. So Aquarius, on that note, I'd like to say thank you so much for joining me for this video. I really wish you well. And if you've not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would be super pleased if you could do that. You can click the subscribe button, which is just underneath the video. And also, if you would like a one-to-one with me for astrology or for life coaching, or a combination of both, because it probably will be, because that seems to be the way I work, then you'll see my website address just here at the bottom of the video. And it would be really lovely to connect with you. So in the meantime, I'd like to say thank you again. I wish you a wonderful month, Aquarius, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.